President CAS, Air Chief Marshal Kaleem Saadat, Ambassador Jalil Abbas Jilani, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. I wish to firstly thank the Center for Aerospace and Security Studies for providing me the opportunity to share my views with such distinguished scholars and luminaries on Pakistan's vision for peace and stability. My compliments to Ambassador Jilani for beautifully encapsulating discussions that have been held over 3 sessions yesterday and today. Let me also commend Air Chief Marshal Kaleem Saadat and his team at the Center for this timely and pertinent initiative. The 2-day proceedings have thrown up useful insights on the fast transforming geopolitical and technological landscape and its impact on force postures. Successive speakers have rightly pointed out at the manner in which warfare and the means to wage war, are being impacted by the changes. Also being impacted at a very fundamental level is the shape and practice of diplomacy. In our toolkit for dealing with external threats, the most effective and cost-effective tool, the most widely employed instrument is the instrument of diplomacy. It is cliched to call diplomacy the first line of defense. It is also the first weapon of offense and the most potent means available to tackle emerging challenges. In that sense, there must be perfect alignment between force postures and foreign policy to navigate the external environment. The two cannot be divorced from one another, nor can be viewed in isolation. When this perfect alignment is achieved, as evidenced in Pakistan's deft handling of the Indian aggression of February 2019, the results are optimal. Conversely, when this is not the case, we see hemorrhaging of political capital, leading to failure or subpar outcomes. Ladies and gentlemen, we live in difficult times when peace and conflict subsist side by side. When states have to contend all at once with non-state actors, hybrid conflicts, powerful and disruptive technologies, and challenges of a truly global scale. We live in a time when threats are emerging and evolving as rapidly as the solutions science produces to address them. A connected world is also a world that sinks and swims as a whole. The coronavirus outbreak is just one illustration of this reality. It is one vivid example of how rapidly the world around can change and the ground beneath can shift. The relentless march of technology and the travails of climate change are taking place side by side, with the return of epicenter of economic growth back towards Asia. This is happening at a time when inequality within and among nations is on the rise, and international norms evolved post-World War II are under siege from their very authors. From multilateralism to bilateralism to unilateralism, from rule of law and pluralism to notions of might is right and ideologies of hate, and from respect for principle to lust for commerce, the world is becoming a Darwinian dystopia. Within our own region, we have experienced the ugly spectre of terrorism and extremism. We are witnessing the rise of fascist ideologies that threaten to rip apart the fabric of state and society. In short, the region and the world are in a state of ferment. Ladies and gentlemen, Pakistan's vision for peace and stability speaks to this ferment. Pakistan's geopolitical location as a pivot between South and Central Asia and the Middle East and China is perhaps both a blessing and a challenge. It is a blessing because it gives Pakistan the salience to contribute meaningfully to stability. It is a challenge because we have to navigate through more than our fair share of geopolitical turbulence. When we took the helm of government over 18 months ago, we resolved to do things differently in the foreign policy arena. We resolved, A, that Naya Pakistan would be credible and courageous, principled and passionate. B, that we would neither become part of any conflict nor allow our soil to be used against any other. C, that we would seek out and build meaningful, substantive, outcome-oriented partnerships for peace, progress, and prosperity. And D, that we would prioritize economic diplomacy and win-win collaborations for trade and development as a means to achieve enduring stability in Pakistan and the region. These principles have since informed our foreign policy conduct and helped achieve significant breakthroughs. Our actions have spoken louder than our words. These actions have underpinned Pakistan's sincere intent for peace and stability for the region. They have helped Pakistan's stature, and today the entire nation can be proud that Pakistan is looked at and viewed differently by the world. How and why are we looked at differently? Let me elaborate. Afghanistan. I was in Doha a few days ago, where we witnessed the landmark signing of the peace deal between the US and the Taliban. 29th of February 2020 was a historic day, marking the first step towards ending the long conflict in Afghanistan. Pakistan has significantly contributed to this singular achievement. For 18 years, Prime Minister Imran Khan has maintained that there is no military solution to the conflict in Afghanistan. It is a measure of his sagacity that the world has come around to endorsing this position and working towards a political solution. As part of a shared responsibility, Pakistan has played its due role in pushing forward the peace and reconciliation process. It is now for our Afghan brothers to seize the historic opportunity and work out a comprehensive and inclusive political settlement. All through the process, we've also ensured that our regional peers, the governments in Kabul, Afghanistan's neighbors, and important capitals remain cognizant of our efforts. And for 40 years, Pakistan has been host to what has been labeled by the UN Secretary General as the most protracted refugee situation in recorded history. It is a measure of success of our efforts that today Pakistan is seen as part of the solution and not part of the problem. Success against terrorism. At great human and material cost, Pakistan has succeeded in turning the tide of terrorism and extremism. Our National Action Plan is the consensual blueprint of eradicating terrorism from our midst completely and holistically. Operations Rad al-Fasad and Zarb-e-Azm have been resounding successes. 2019 has been the safest year yet. It is also the year we have opened up to the world with our revamped visa on arrival and online visa initiatives. This has paved the way for Pakistan's journey from a country known for terrorism to one known for tourism. The Kartarpur Corridor. Despite ongoing dire situation in occupied Jammu and Kashmir and the current slide in Pakistan-India relations, Pakistan established the Kartarpur Corridor to allow our Sikh brethren from India and around the world access to one of their holiest sites on the occasion of the 550th birth anniversary of the founder of Sikh religion, Baba Guru Nanak. In record time, what is now amongst the largest Sikh Gurdwaras in the world, Kartarpur was opened up to foreign pilgrims. Pakistanis warmly opened their hearts to welcome their guests and accord them hospitality. The Kartarpur spirit animated our actions. Kartarpur is a living testament to Pakistan's vision for the region and for Pakistan-India relations, which is one of peaceful coexistence, interfaith harmony, tolerance and amity, bridge building in the Islamic world. Wherever possible and however we could, Pakistan, in its modest capacity, has contributed to lessening tensions and the threat of war, and promoting dialogue and diplomacy in the Middle East. We have unequivocally declared that we would not partake in any regional conflict and that we would only be partners for peace. We have been in the forefront in declaring that conflict would be in no one's interest and in calling for restraint and recourse to dialogue and diplomacy. Regional powers have acknowledged and appreciated our efforts. Crisis management with India. A year ago, our eastern neighbors' belligerence pushed us to the brink of war. India violated our airspace on a false pretext with a sinister design. The challenge before our leadership was to prevent war that would be disastrous for the region, while ensuring that the Indian aggression did not go unpunished. We were able to achieve both objectives. We laid bare the fiction of India's military might, exercised our right to self-defense, and demonstrated our will and capacity to respond to any misadventure. It was Pakistan's maturity, responsibility and restraint, but also a firm resolve to respond to naked aggression that de-escalated the standoff and helped preserve the peace. We have since seen India take a number of steps to further aggravate the situation in Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir and indeed in India itself. Mobilized by the Hindutva-driven agenda of racial supremacy and hatred against Muslims, the RSS-inspired BJP government has moved on to take further unilateral and illegal steps in the Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. The unprecedented lockdown has continued beyond 6 months. It is aimed at breaking the will of the Kashmiri people and changing Jammu and Kashmir's demography. India has not been content at assaulting Jammu and Kashmir alone. The Citizen Amendment Act and the National Register of Citizens are aimed at disenfranchising India's 200 million Muslims. As was predicted by Prime Minister Imran Khan, the Modi government's policies are taking a bloody and dangerous turn. The pogrom of Gujarat is being replayed on the streets of Delhi. This is a matter of deep concern to Pakistan and should be to the entire world. Hindutva and its capture of India's state institutions poses the single gravest threat to global and regional peace and security. Ladies and gentlemen, Pakistan has not sought conflict with India, but we have not appeased either. We have not shied away from lending our full voice and support to the beleaguered people of Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. We have not shied away from exposing the real intent, Indian intent and agenda to the world. Today, after decades of hiatus, the Kashmiri issue is fully alive and internationalized. The world opinion is squarely turning in favor of the Kashmiris and against ruling Hindu supremacists. India is facing international scrutiny and opprobrium like never before. Incredible India is today being viewed as intolerant India and shining India as burning India. We have no doubt that the world community would clearly see the BJP government in India for what it is, an ideologically driven, hate-filled, majoritarian clique that is destroying the societal fabric and deeply hurting minorities, especially Muslims. They must be held accountable for the crimes against humanity they are committing every day. Reinvigorating partnerships. Pakistan has sought and strengthened partnerships with international and regional friends. From United States to Russia, from China to the European Union, and with leading Muslim states, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Iran, Malaysia, the UAE, and Qatar, to name a few, Pakistan's relations today stand at a qualitatively higher plane. We have imbued these partnerships with a greater sense of direction and a deeper economic content. Under the Engage Africa initiative, we are opening up fresh avenues for economic diplomacy and win-win collaboration with our African friends. And with the restoration of peace in Afghanistan, connectivity with Central Asia will be given greater impetus. Launch of the next phase of China-Pakistan corridor, the next generation Pakistan-China Free Trade Agreement, the strategic engagement plan with the European Union, the planned $20 billion investment by Saudi Arabia, and the strategic economic framework with Turkey are just a few of the tangible outcomes. championing international causes. We have leveraged our partnerships to champion causes that impact the developing world. Pakistan has been at the forefront in the fight against climate change, Islamophobia, and eradicating corruption. We have vociferously stood up for defending Islam and the rights of Muslims, and in calling out Islamophobia as racism and crime. We are playing our role in shoring up multilateralism and the UN system, and are contributing actively to reforms at the UN that see the emergence of a more democratic, more equal, and more effective world body. Ladies and gentlemen, perhaps there could be no bigger tribute to Pakistan's contribution to global peace and security than what the UN Secretary General had to say about Pakistani blue helmets while addressing Center of International Peace and Stability at NUST during his recent visit to Pakistan. Speaking about Pakistani peacekeeping, he lauded the professionalism and contribution of our brave men and women, 150,000 of whom have been deployed to 41 peacekeeping missions in 23 countries. 157 made the ultimate sacrifice. He declared Pakistan a leader in championing women peacekeepers and an example to others. He said, and I quote, that Pakistan is one of the most consistent and reliable contributors to peace efforts around the world. In another context, he said that he had a love affair with Pakistan and its people. I thank you.